Hey guys, Matthew here. So today I'll be bringing you a little bit of a different video, I guess. Well, it's basically like a continuation of the filter guide I made the other day. And basically, if you guys have been coming to the stream for the past week or so, I've almost exclusively been making filters. Pretty much making filters for different items, for meta items, for rares. I'm talking about rare filters, of course, to be able to snipe rare items on top of the uniques that we already have. So, essentially, here is something that a lot of people ask me. So I've been making filters, like I said. So let's say, for example, a pair of boots. So let's say I wanted a pair of boots, and I wanted life on those boots. So I wanted 70 life. Which is like a T2 life roll. Let's say I also wanted life, but a total life of like 100. So that could be, let's say that the pair of boots has life and hybrid life, or maybe it has life and something else, like strength on it, whatever, that would give it more life, etc., etc. Now let's say I also wanted movement speed, 35. Let's say I also wanted resistances, so it could be cold resistance, it could be fire resistance, it could be lightning resistance, it could be chaos resistance, and I'm just using random numbers here. Let's just use 36, which is a decent number, and for chaos we can use 26. Right, and now if I was to look at a pair of boots with all this, it's not going to exist, right? Because first off, there's 4 suffixes, there's 4 resistances, so that's physically impossible. Now, life, I have there twice, so it's impossible that there's going to be 2 times a different life roll. So what I can do is a count search. Now, if I was to look at a count of 5 of this, 5, which would mean the filter would look at all these stats 5 times, then I'll probably find some pair of boots. And they're probably going to be fairly expensive. Let's go ahead and do corrupted no, mirrored no. If I was to do this, as you can see, these boots are pretty damn expensive. The reason why they're so expensive is because I'm basically asking for 5 stats. So it could be triple resistances, right? And then movement speed. Oh, well, let's do 30. Let's do 30 movement speed. All of a sudden, they're going to be a lot cheaper. Still pretty decent, pretty damn decent pair of boots, you know, 2x. So the reason why that is because I'm asking for 5 stats. One of them can be 70 life, which is considered, I think, a T2 roll for boots. The other is 100 life, which means it has life and hybrid life or strength, which is a suffix. Then movement speed, and then I'm also asking for 3 of the 4 resistances. So it has to be a combination of all these different stats, and it's got to come up with 5 of them to actually show me a pair of boots. So what are the results we can get? Well, we can get 3 different resistances. That could include chaos, lightning, fire, and cold. We can get 3 of them. And on top of that, we can get some movement speed, and we get some decent life, right? Or we could get 100 life. 100 life also encompasses a 70 life roll, so we get 100 life, also 70 life, because that's the same thing, no movement speed, and then 3 resistances. Or we can get 70 life, 100 life, which, as I said, go together, 30 movement speed, and 2 resistances. Anything that would count as 5 total mods. So if I go ahead and run the search, you're going to see a lot of these boots are, so for example, this one would be 100 life. And the reason why it's got 100 life is because of the strength. And because of the hybrid roll as well. The crafted hybrid roll. So this, for example, encompasses the 100 life, 70 life, because I asked for 70 life as well, the 30 movement speed, and double resistances of cold and fire. This pair here is kind of the same. It's got 100 life because of the craft mostly and a bit of strength, and it's got movement speed and double res. This one has also 100 life because it's got really high strength, and it's got double resistances and movement speed, and this is actually a temple pair of boots. Actually, yeah, so that's that. Now, if I wanted to make this filter a little bit better, personally, I would remove this 100 life search here. Now, I would ask for basically either 70 life, 30 movement speed, and then triple resistances. The thing is, if I actually go ahead and click this filter, these boots are going to be extremely expensive, like multiple exalts. And that is normal because I'm asking for triple resistances, good life, and 30 movement speed. Like very potent pair of boots. So, how do I fix this? Or how do I make it better for me? This is when the double filtering of the same stat comes in. You know how I was talking about how life can be used twice if you use a life roll that's higher than the other life roll. Even if I use the same life roll twice, it would also do the same thing. But you wouldn't really want to use the same life roll twice here. Because let's say I use the same life roll twice. Also, this little triangle doesn't mean anything. If I use the same life roll twice, what's going to happen is it's going to start showing me some very mediocre pair of boots. So for example, this one. Why is this showing up? Well, it's counting the life, 70. Then it's counting the life again for 70, right? So counting the life once, counting the life twice. Then all it needs is 3 different stats out of the movement speed and the resistances. So it can show me either triple resistance and no movement speed, like these boots here that are absolutely worthless. It could show me boots like this, triple resistances, no movement speed. And then it could show me boots that actually have movement speed, like this one, but a shit suffix. So like this one, chance to avoid bleeding or being poisoned. So, how do you fix that? Well, you don't really want to use a double life roll. What you could consider using, though, is a double movement speed roll. So, now what are the different things we can get if we ask for 5 stats from this filter? Well, we can get movement speed twice, which means then we're needing 3 stats, which could be double resistances or good life, or triple resistances. That's all we can get. Now, what's going to happen, though, if you run the search, is that you're going to end up with pairs of boots like this, with 33 life. That's bad. Really bad. You don't want to see 33 life. So, a good way to get rid of that is to basically put an if function, and then you're going to use the if on the life, which means if life is present, the minimum I want to see is 70, right? So now you're no longer going to see the very horrible pair of boots. You're only going to see boots like this. It has the movement speed roll. It's being counted twice. It has the 70 life, and then it has 2 of the resistances for a count of 5 total stats. And as you can see, the price is pretty cheap. Now, the thing is, this pair of boots you'd actually kind of have to annul if you wanted to do anything with it, because it has pretty much no open prefix or suffix to craft anything, so it's kind of ruined. And a lot of these kind of pair of boots are going to look somewhat like this. For example, bad suffix or bad prefix, and things like that. Now, if you wanted to fix that as well, what you could do is basically put a count search of 1, and then it would be either an empty prefix or an empty suffix. So now what you're asking is 5 of the stats, right? Either twice movement speed and then double res and life, or triple res and no life. But you're also asking for an empty prefix or an empty suffix. So what happens here is if it rolls the empty prefix, which means no life on the boots, then it needs to have triple resistances, otherwise it can't reach 5. If you're asking for the empty suffix, then it's got to have the life, because otherwise it can't reach 5 with just 2 resistances. Now, if you run this search, all of a sudden, we're going to come up with pairs of boots like this. Like this, for example, with 70 life, which is pretty good, 30 movement speed, which is pretty good, and then double good resistances. Pairs of boots like this, for example, it's kind of funny, I'm not a noob, he's actually a community member who is using filters just like these, as you can see, to snipe some pair of boots, and looks like he's having a good time with that. Now, the reason why these filters are pretty damn good is because people post some extremely cheap pair of boots sometimes. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it does happen definitely. Let's take this pair of boots for 20 chaos, for example. This pair of boots for 20 chaos has 70 life, so we're going to go ahead and make a filter for boots just to show this. It has 70 life. Oops. It has 30 movement speed. Oops. It has 30 movement speed. This life we can actually put a total, because technically it could be crafted. So, minimum 70 life, 30 movement speed, and it's got 42 plus 44 plus 40 resistances. Now, what I'm saying is plus 40 resistances is that you can craft a dual resistance of, let's say, lightning and cold, or lightning and fire, or maybe lightning, or maybe cold and fire, whatever you want to craft. You can craft another double resistance of 2020, which would give this pair of boots 126 resistances. So total resistance 125. So how much is a pair of boots with about 70 life, 120 res, and, you know, good res worth? Now, we're going to go online because a lot of these are going to be way too cheap. And, as you can see, a pair of boots with about 120 res and 70-ish life with 30 movement speed is worth about 2 exalts, 3 exalts. It goes up to 3 exalts fairly quickly, but it's about 1.5 to 2 exalts. And then the better, let's say you were lucky enough to pick up a pair with 80 life, all of a sudden you're looking at 5 exalts, right? This is listed for 20 chaos, right? So if you buy this for 20 chaos, you slap on a double resistance that is not chaos, because that's removing the ability to roll basically at the very least 10 resistances, which would take your pair of boots down to like 110 res. And you craft the double res, such as like fire and lightning or whatever. You can take this 20 chaos, craft the stuff on it, and all of a sudden your pair of boots should be worth about 1.5x. And 1.5x is on the very low end. As you can see, that was listed 23 minutes ago. So pretty cheap. I'm pretty sure these are not going to stay on for that long. And basically, that's the gist of it. Now, there's another strategy that I want to talk about when it comes to this filter, and that is very high-end filters. So, for very, very expensive items. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to bump up this to 80. We're going to bump up this to 80 because 80 is considered T1 life. Well, it is T1 life. And we're going to bump this up to 85. Now, the results are going to be very expensive. That's a given. But the thing is, even with results like this, as you can see offline for 5x, people somehow, for some reason, sometimes post boots like these for very cheap. Now, here's the thing, though. Asking for 80 life on a pair of 35 movement speed boots is kind of a lot, right? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to ask for 5 mods, but we're actually going to ask, we're going to go back to asking for the hybrid life. This total life basically could be strength. It could be strength. It could be, what's it called? Could be strength, could be, crafted life, which is bad, so you don't want to see that. So what you can do to remove that is do a knock count of life as a craft. So you don't want to see life, essentially, is what you're telling the filter when you do this. So you don't want to see crafted maximum life, because people can craft hybrid and such. So it could be either hybrid life and good life, or it could be strength on the boots. Now, if we're asking for 5 rolls here, though, the life is there twice, right? The movement speed is also there twice, which means technically it's going to be possible to see a pair of boots with like 100 life, 35 res, and then just 1 resistance, which would be not so great. But I'll get back to this. Okay, we can use, I guess, this pair, for example. Because this pair has a bad suffix and also a, no, that's actually hybrid life. So this pair of boots is actually pretty well priced. This one, too. These are mostly well priced as well. But the thing is, people post these kind of pair of boots for cheaper than they should really be posting them sometimes. It's not every time, but it's sometimes. And we can maybe look at standard to illustrate this for example. All right, perfect example. This was probably from last league, probably posted during Blight League. So this is why this is 4 months ago, 7 months ago. We probably don't want to look at, but let's just look at this one for example. Listed for 1 exalt 4 months ago. So this pair of boots has over 100 life, 35 movement speed, and then a decent suffix of cold res, and then another bad suffix, which is dexterity, and another bad suffix, which is rarity. Now, this comes to a little bit more of the, you could say, end user, which is a little bit more advanced, a little bit more gambly. But let me show you guys something. If I go in Metamorph and I do online only, and I look at boots with 100 life, let's use total here actually. if I look at boots with 100 life, 35% movement speed, and the potential of 80 resistances, these boots should be pretty fucking expensive. As you can see, multiple exalts. So if you were to buy this pair of boots for one exalt, right? Here's what's gonna happen. You have basically 1 affix, 2 affix, which is hybrid, 3 affix, which is life, 4, which is rarity, 5, and 6. You have 6 affixes. Now, if you hit the movement speed, you lost an exalt, right? I'm talking about annulling here, of course. If you hit the cold res, you put back on a 20/20 resistance, and you resell it for the same price you bought it for. So, for example, let's say you were to do that and you get unlucky, you hit the resistance. You can just put back on a double resistance and sell it for exactly what you paid for it. You get your money back, you're refunded. If you hit the rarity, that is when you get to craft up to 80 resistances, and all of a sudden you've more than quadrupled, six-tripled your money. You go from 1x to 6x, 7x, 8x, whatever it is. It depends at the when that happens in the time of you buying the boots. What happens if you hit the actual hybrid life? That is the prefix hybrid life. Nothing. You can just craft it back on. You just put it back on the hybrid life, which is like 20. Or you could actually decide to instead put something like cannot be frozen or stuff like that. Or you could just resell it for the exact price that you bought it by putting on the hybrid life again. Not a big deal. What happens if you hit the T1 life, which is 80 to 89? Well, your pair of boots now is 40 resistance, right? Instead of having 100 life, you go down to 90 life. You lost 10 life. You're going to refund yourself. It's basically going to sell for about an exalt. You just got your money back. No big deal. And if you hit the dexterity, once again, we're in a place where we're going back to 100 life and 80 res, and you've made some big bucks. So what are the odds that you lose money here? The odds, the only thing you can hit with the annul, if you bought this pair of boots for 1 exalt, that would be a money loss, would be the movement speed. Anything else, you'd be fine. If you hit the cold, as I said, you recraft it, you make your money back. You hit the rarity, that's really good. So it's one good stat that's amazing to actually hit. You hit either of the life rolls, you recraft it, you make your money back, no biggie. You hit the dexterity roll, then that's also big bang, right? So you have 2 and 6 to make really, really big money. You have a 1 and 6. You have a 1 and 6 to lose everything, and you have a 3 and 6 to actually basically make your money back. So 2 and 6, you have a 33% chance to go from 1 exalt to like 6, 7x or whatever. You have a 1 and 6, which is a 16% chance to lose all your money, basically, because if you get rid of the 35 movement speed, the boots are absolutely worthless, to be completely honest. And you have a 3 and 6 chance, which is obviously a 50-50, to just nothing happens, and you can move on to the next pair of boots. So as you can see, the odds are in your favor by a lot. You have twice the chance to actually double your money, and have the chance, well, not have the chance, basically 3 times the chance to actually just break even. So the odds are absolutely in your favor, which is why making filters that are a little bit more advanced, while they do take a little bit more time to make, can be absolutely valuable. Now, this is essentially what it would look like if you want to, copy paste it or basically try to make your own, something like that. So, obviously you can tweak this to your liking. Let's say you think 35 movement speed is good, but you'd rather instead do 30 movement speed, but instead do high resistance rolls, which would be 42 all around the board. All of a sudden, you're kind of going to be in the same situation. It's going to be showing you higher resistances pair of boots, but less movement speed. So, for example, this pair of boots for 2.5x, actually, this one here's got, looks like a bad prefix, or a bad suffix. See, this would be an example of a pair of boots that you don't really want to annul. The reason being is if you annul the movement speed, they're going to die. If you annul the res, you can maybe refund yourself. If you annul the fire, you can maybe refund yourself. The only big bucks would be annulling the rarity, And the life rolls, nothing happens if you annul them because you can just recraft them. The thing is, it's not 1 exalt here. You're gambling with 2.5 exalts, which is a lot more, you know, currency, considerably more currency. Another pair of boots like this seems to be worth quite a bit more, though. So 2.5x might even be a decent deal, but it's obviously a lot more currency than just 1 exalt. Either way, that basically concludes this video. One last thing before I go, though. I do want to say a huge thank you to my patrons. The list is getting pretty damn long. So I want to say thank you to all you beautiful people. Special shout out to, you know, Drool, Jared, KFish, Caleb, Cory, Kevin, Morten. And big special shout out to the big boy supporters who pretty much make this possible alongside all the rest of you as well. Kasticus, Raggon, General XDC, Joe, kURTIS, apzera, MrCoffee, Emil the Delver, and Super J. You guys are all amazing, beautiful people, and I just realized that this spam KEKW in chat is still here. Sorry about that. Either way, I do stream basically every single day because it's my full-time job now, so check out my stream. Link's going to be in the description. If you have any questions regarding filters and stuff like that, feel free to ask him in the comment section. I'll try to get back to you guys. Hopefully this video is going to allow you guys to make some pretty sick filters for yourselves. Otherwise, you can check out the VODs. They're going to be available for the next 2 weeks on my Twitch, because I've basically been making filters that are this advanced and whatnot, or even way more advanced for the past week or so. So you have tons and tons of hours of me making filters if you want to check that out. So either way, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one, and that's going to be Matthew signing out. Until the next one. Peace.